Welcome, everyone. I'm now calling this meeting to order. Please stand with us. We'll be led in prayer by Alderman Gallagher. Please remain standing after that for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll be led by Alderman Hoots. Will you lead us? Sure. Led by Alderman Hoots.
Heavenly Father, we come before you in this month of November, month where we give thanks for the things that you've done for us, Lord. And Lord, there's so many things that you've done for us that we don't deserve, Lord, and we just want to say thank you for the many, many blessings that you've given us, for holding your hand over Southaven. Lord, we pray that you would bless our meeting tonight, and Lord, be involved in all of our decisions. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda this evening is approval of minutes for the we got two meetings to approve. The first one is the October 15, 2019 meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of the October 15, 2019 meeting with any additions, deletions, or corrections.
Second. We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
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 Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne? Yes. Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. The next meeting, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the October 18, 2019 meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the special meeting of the minutes of the special meeting of October 18, 2019 with any additions, deletions, or corrections. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne? Yes. Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is the FY19 Audit Engagement Agreement. Mr. Chris Wilson, City Administrator.
Mayor Board, this is to re-engage Fort Marion Ballard to do our professional services for our FY19 audit. As you know, we've used them past several audit years, been very pleased with their services, their timely manner in which they audit our books, and we recommend we go with them again for FY19 at the rate of $34,000 for the audit, not to exceed additional $7,500 for any additional work that we may need. Same rate as we've made.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne? Yes. Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the 2018 JAG rescission. Mr. Nick Manley, City Attorney.
This is in 2017 or 17-18. We have applied for a JAG grant with the City of Olive Branch. There's been some new requirements for that JAG grant that we've looked at. Basically, to sum it up, the administrative cost of the grant exceed the actual benefits. Talked with Chief Moore and Chris and the mayor, and Olive Branch and the City of Southaven are both recommending rescissions of the 2008. Olive Branch was the lead agency 2017 for the JAG grant. The City of Southaven was the lead agency 2018 for the JAG grant. So tonight, seeking authorization to rescind the JAG grant and let the mayor and/or Chris Wilson draft any correspondence related to such rescission.
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne? Yes. Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the Southaven Police Department agreement with Virtual Academy.
Yeah, this agreement was for Chief Moore's signature and authorized Chief Moore to sign this agreement with Virtual Academy. It'll help with the training for our police officers through virtual means, i.e. the internet and other options, video for them with those training processes. They revised the agreement and tonight seek authorization for him to sign.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
And that motion carries. Next on the agenda is the Southaven Police Department agreement with Industrial Organizational Solutions Incorporated.
Yeah, this agreement with obviously the Southaven Police Department authorized Chief Moore to sign this agreement as well for the purchase from Industrial Organized Solutions as presented tonight.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for Southaven Police Department sole source purchase.
These is for the stop sticks for the Southaven Police Department. These stop sticks are sold only by this particular company, and they have the patent for it. So tonight, resolution for the sole source as presented on the resolution and the exhibit.
Mr. Mayor, move that we adopt the resolution, Mayor Board of Aldermen, the City of Southaven, authorizing a single source item purchase, stop sticks, as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Yes. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the Southaven Police Department surplus item.
These items are requested to be surplus pursuant to Mississippi Code 1721.5.
Mr. Mayor, move to adopt the resolution, Mayor Board of Aldermen, the City of Southaven, declaring surplus property in the Southaven Police Department.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Yes. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is an application for Southaven Fire Department grant.
And this is worded wrong. It should be acceptance of the grant. And Chief Skaggs is here to need to add any more to it, but it's a grant, but it will cost the city nothing. It's no match required for the Southaven Police Department. Not Southaven Fire Department tonight, and authorize Chief Skaggs to sign for the grant acceptance. If you have any questions about the actual grant, the proceeds, Chief Skaggs can answer those questions.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the grant in the Southaven Fire Department as presented. The application for
Or acceptance, so far.
acceptance, sorry.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, a second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is a contract with Argo Entertainment, LLC.
This contract's with Argo for the 4th of July festivities at Snowden. It's basically the same contract we've had the last 2 years with them. So they've agreed to all our changes and revisions in the past, and this contract mirrors those changes and revisions from the previous years. So tonight, authorization for the mayor to sign the contract with Argo Entertainment LLC for the Independence Day production.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for Freeport warehouse tax exemption for Urbanos Medical Sales LLC.
Yeah, this tax exemption for the Freeport warehouse for Urbanos Medical Sales, it's been recommended by the Economic Council and approved by supervisors, and it's for the Freeport tax exemption for those goods held at the warehouse that move in interstate commerce. Tonight, seeking authorization for that Freeport warehouse tax exemption in accordance with the recommendation from the council and as the county approved as well.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the resolution, Mayor Board of Aldermen of the City of Southaven, granting Freeport Warehouse ad valorem tax exemption to Urbanos Medical Sales LLC as authorized by Section 27-31-51 of the Mississippi Code as amended.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for sanitation assessments.
This is just a resolution for the car tag holds for those individuals who have not paid their sanitation fee as sent by the City of Southaven.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the resolution for assessing unpaid sanitation fees as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion among the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that has an interest in the properties where there's been an assessment that would like to speak? Hearing or seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly. Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a contract with Ideal Chemical.
This contract with Ideal Chemicals went to bid for chemicals for the utilities department. Only received one bid from Ideal Chemical. So tonight, authorization for the mayor to sign the contract for a one-year period with Ideal Chemical as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion?
The motion be accept them as a low bid, low and only bid, and authorize the contract with the motion the minutes will say.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a paving proposal acceptance and authorization from the board to post for new personnel positions.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the paving proposal acceptance and authorize you to post for the personnel positions.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, are we just doing the personnel, or is this buying the equipment too now? Is this what we're voting on, like the equipment too?
Well, as discussed numerous times, the plan is, with the most challenging thing, being able to hire personnel. What we've decided to do, or what the proposal is to check the job market, see if we can get qualified personnel that are experienced in paving. At that point, we would buy the equipment at that point, but we would wait to purchase the equipment until we're comfortable with the personnel. But in order for us to get moving, we have to have some direction from the board. We need to know, I mean, time is an issue, so we would need to know that we have the support of the board. So I'll let Nick tell me if I'm wrong. Nick, help us. But this proposal, what I'm recommending is that you're approving the paving proposal at the discretion of us hiring and moving forward at that point. So obviously you wouldn't approve us to hire personnel and then come back later and refuse to accept a bid on the equipment. Does that make sense? I mean, that would be counterproductive to do something like that. So a long way to say this is your approval or disapproval of the attempt to begin paving our own streets. Any other discussion? And again, I hope everyone will allow me not to go through, we've talked about this for 3 months, so I'm not going to go through. If anyone in the audience wants to see the details, it's all videotaped. You can go back and look at prior meetings which break down all the additional costs involved, the thought process on making the decision or recommending that we begin paving our own streets. So all that is available, so we won't go back through all that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a request for an Attorney General opinion regarding Alderman's role in day-to-day operations. Specifically, what we would put in the request would be in reference to public safety communication interference, personnel management interference, and using the position of Alderman for pecuniary gain.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Brooks. I'm sorry, who made the second? Second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, are we going to be privy to the questions before we send them in, or can we add even any additional questions we'd like to have answered to, that kind of stuff?
Certainly.
I want to read the Mississippi Code. So we've had some, I guess, misunderstanding maybe what our authorities are as aldermen, as mayor, the legislative branch, executive branch, and so forth. And so it's the Mississippi Code, section 2021-3-15 of 1972, sets forth the powers of the mayor in a code charter form of government, which is what we have. That section provides that the mayor, quote, shall have superintendent control of all the officers and affairs of the municipality, and shall take care of the laws and ordinances are executed. Under this authority, our office, this is from the AG, our office is opined that the mayor has supervisory authority over municipal employees. Aldermen have no authority to become involved in the day-to-day functioning of municipal departments, but are entitled to act as advisors and observe city departments, including asking questions of municipal employees and gathering information for purposes of reporting back to the board. I think some of the confusion comes in is where does that line, when do you cross the line, when do you not cross the line? I know you have something, you have some examples you'd like to cite, Mr. Mayor, or?
This is something that was requested, by our board. That's why it's on the agenda. But since I am the supervising officer of all city operations, I can tell you that we have had some situations that I believe, and my department heads believe, to be very dangerous for the city in general, and specifically Alderman Hoots, it relates to you. And basically, what the main thing that's a concern, we certainly understand, as Alderman Brooks read, that the alderman's role by state law is a legislative function. It's your job to make the laws of the city. In order to do that effectively, you certainly have to ask questions at times for employees. I think anyone on this board will tell you that I'm probably the most transparent mayor to ever work for this city. I communicate very frequently with this board to prepare you. I never ask you to make a decision on anything until I've given you complete facts. So I think that everyone on this board would agree that I do answer the questions that the aldermen have. That still doesn't prevent you from asking questions of any employee. State law gives you the right to do that. But there are some things that have occurred that have become very dangerous, and I'll share that with you this evening. Many in the audience may not know this, many of our city may not know, but our police department sends a daily report to the mayor and to all the board members of any criminal activity that happens throughout the day, arrest record, basically a list of police calls throughout the day. And the purpose of that is in line with this AG opinion. It's to inform the board members of what's going on, so if they receive a question on the street, they're informed, they're able to answer that question. But what state law clearly, or in my opinion, clearly doesn't say is there has to be a limit to the involvement in day-to-day operations. So like when an alderman gets that report from the police each day, that's the efficient way for the police to communicate with the board. When there are multiple phone calls daily to the police chief and to the deputy chief, when there are calls directly after an incident occurs, when dispatchers dispatch emergency information, and there's a phone call from you, Alderman Hoots, to the police chief or the deputy chief, it's interference. It gets in their way. It's very dangerous. Not only is it distracting them from doing their job, but also information has to be released to the public at a safe time. For example, and the chiefs are here, they could tell you better, but I'm going to summarize it for you. So when an incident happens, obviously there's a chain of command. So when someone responds to a call, the most important thing is to protect the public safety of our citizens. That goes first and without saying. After that, when the administration, all the command staff of the police department are informed on what happened, all that information is processed upwards through our captains, through our majors, through our deputy chief, and ultimately our police chief. At that point, he will make a decision on the proper communication to the public. It's very, very important that that chain of command is not broken. And then at that point, after the police chief processes that information, he also will look at it from a citywide perspective. Is this something that the mayor of the city needs? And as Alderman Brooks just read to you, I am the presiding officer of the City of Southaven. And the police chief has many times when he updates me, because it's my responsibility to update the public. It's not the alderman's responsibility, it's the mayor's responsibility. So when we get that information, there is a clear chain of command and a timing of that. If there is a breach in that chain of timing, it can be extremely harmful. And let me give you just a few examples. Number one, it goes without saying, even when I'm given information from the police department, there are many things that I do not discuss because I have to make a judgment call on what could be dangerous for an investigation. So like if there's information released to the public prematurely, it could jeopardize our city in a police investigation. The other thing is it also could create liability hazards for the city. Anytime an event occurs, we all know the attack that our police are under on a national scale. Anytime that information is put out there that's not accurate, that could potentially compromise our position in the courtroom. So it's very, very important that it's not hiding any information. Let me say that for all those that are already make their mind up that they want to critique our police. It's sharing the facts, but it's making sure that we've done our own investigation as well, that we don't misspeak. And then the third thing that's dangerous, there are many times that information, if it's prematurely put out into the public, it can create undue panic. And I'll tell you, as a leader, one of the worst things that can happen in a dangerous situation is panic. So there's times when the deputy chief, the police chief, the fire chief, and their teams process information, they resolve issues, they share information with me. We make decisions on the proper time to put that information out there so there's not panic created in the city. So those are three examples, and just being real candid with you, I'm not trying to disrespect you. You know that I've come to you one-on-one numerous times about this, and you've refused to change your behavior. And so I have more important things to do than to fight with you. But when it starts jeopardizing our city and starts affecting my ability to do my job for the citizens, your fellow board members have gotten involved now, okay? And it's a real simple thing that could be corrected right now. We don't even have to write the AG opinion. We can correct it right now. But you've refused to do that. And so that's why we're talking about it tonight. Now, while we're talking about it, I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and have the baby. Let's go ahead and have the whole baby now, okay? So the other things, personnel management. Well, as it clearly says, Alderman's role is not to be involved in the management of day-to-day activities. That includes the supervision and management of personnel. There have been numerous occasions to where you've gone around me and had conversations with department heads and individual employees. Comments that have been made have caused problems with our city. There's been damage control that I've had to go back behind you to correct. And I'll just give you a few examples, okay? And not to get into any specific details, just I don't want to embarrass anyone. The city has a nepotism policy. I mean, there's a reason for that. So if people are related, they cannot work in the same department together. So we follow that very strictly. But we do have many employees in the city You know, the size city that we have, that's inevitable. You're going to have some people that are happy with their job. They're going to recommend the career to one of their family members. There's nothing wrong with that. So we have many situations where we have related employees. And you have made comments in the past to those employees that the board has a problem with that. Like let me make sure I'm accurate and fair. Basically, the comment was just made that the board has instead of you speaking for Alderman Hooch, you spoke inaccurately on behalf of the entire board and told a few of these employees that the board has a problem with them being related and all working for the city. Well, you can imagine if you're an employee of the city, and for the people in the audience who don't understand this, we're a code charter form of government. The mayor of the city does not hire or fire anyone. The board of aldermen as a group with a majority vote is the one that are the ones that make the hiring and firing decisions. So you can imagine if a board member came to you and you're an employee of the city and you say that the board has a problem with you or has a problem with you working for the city. Well, I don't know about you, but I take my job very seriously. I wouldn't sleep well that night. I would go home and I would be worried about, hey, is my job good with the city? I mean, you can imagine the downward morale and the problems that causes. Okay, that's one example. Another one that's even more serious than that is we have one of our, in the past, not our current police chief, but a former deputy police chief, you told him that the board did not support him nor the current police chief. And that's at the whole time when we go through many challenges, and that's when, as their supervisor, I'm pumping them up. I'm trying to build them up. They have a tough job. I'm trying to pump them up and get them to keep our city safe. You make the comment that the board doesn't support them. Again, I don't have to go into detail. You can only imagine how they slept that night. Then, most recently, and I think this may have a lot to do with why this is on the agenda this evening. We had an event last week in the city where one of our fire engines was responding to a call and was involved in an auto accident. Well, in that accident, the person, or it appears at this point, that we were not involved in the accident. The person turned in front of the fire engine. There was nothing they could do to stop the collision. Well, someone that has pride in their work, and Chief Scallions or anybody in the fire department could tell you better than I can, they take pride in that. When you're a driver of a fire engine, that's a big deal. They take pride in their driving record. So that driver already was pretty much down in the dumps. They were feeling pretty bad about it, even though it wasn't their fault. Well, multiple reports back to me, and not to me, but to your fellow board members, indicated that not only did you make the scene, which I still don't know how you made the scene. I do have one question before we finish this conversation, how you know before I know. But not only did you make the scene, but then you followed the fire department back to the fire station, and while you were there, you made the comment in the presence of that driver that, let me quote you because I want to make sure I got it right. The city will be paying for this one for a long time. And again, I'll just let that sink in. How do you think that driver felt when an alderman, who with 3 other votes, makes the decision to hire or fire an employee of the city? That person who takes great pride in their job, not only were they feeling bad because they were involved in an accident, worried about the other person too, I'm assuming, then an alderman, right after it, follows them to the station within minutes and makes that comment to them. Well, again, what our department heads try to do, and what I try to encourage my department heads and all our employees, we try to pump them up. I mean, obviously there's times when you're supervising personnel that you have to have some difficult discussions. But for the most part, I believe in a positive management style. And our department heads, I can guarantee you, every department head that we have is the same way. They're very positive. So here we are, trying to have a positive management style, since we are the supervising authorities of the city by state law. We're trying to pump our employees up, to build morale, to pump them up, to encourage them. And then an alderman interferes in the way and comes and makes a comment like that. And so I'm just telling you, that's extremely harmful for the day-to-day operations of the city. I could go on and on. The last thing I'm going to say is what has a concern to me, or what I have a concern about. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if somebody has given you a radio or if you just listen to an old style scanner. But you're listening, obviously, you're getting information before the police chief gets it, I think, at times, definitely before I get it. And it's very, very dangerous for the city. I believe that it's worthy to ask the question of the Attorney General. I don't know this, and your question, will you have the opportunity to add input? Absolutely, we want to be fair. Are you using that for gain? I mean, you obviously are in the media business. You're a career media person. I know you were a television cameraman for many years. Are you using that information for gain? Are you misusing the position of alderman? Because when you're an alderman, let me explain this again. When you go ask a question of an employee, it's an unfair position that you just put them in. There's a lot of times when they know, hey, this is really dangerous for our city. We really don't need to be talking about this right now, just yet. But then again, you're an alderman. You can hire or fire them with 3 other votes. So you put them in an unfair position, so they're going to have pressure on them to give you information prematurely that maybe they shouldn't, that they wouldn't otherwise do. So my question to you is, are you using that information for your media career? And that's what it looks like. And if that is what you're doing, that's against the law. And so those are the things that, and again, I'm not speaking for Alderman Brooks, but you and I have known this has been a problem because I've talked to you one-on-one. I did like Jesus said do. I came straight to you in private, and I told you that there was a problem, and you refused to change. And then we had 2 other conversations. The third one was not very pleasant. And so I've come to you first, and you've refused to do anything different. You just deny it every time. Well, we know that that's not true. I could march 10 employees up here. This is not a courtroom. I can march 10 employees up here, and if I need to at the next meeting, I will. I'll march them right up here to the podium and let them testify to the things that you said to them. The last comment that you made at the fire station the other day to one of our employees, don't forget, I'm in the media career and I need some business. You said that. Again, don't deny it. I'll bring the people up here. Did you say? You know you said it. And so what I'm saying, that leads me, that right there, that statement alone is a concern for obvious reasons. Are you using your position as alderman for pecuniary gain? If you're looking for a news story as alderman, that's misuse of your power as an alderman. And so I'm done talking about it. I'll open up the floor. I want to hear from you, and I want to hear from the rest of the board. But it's clear, I'm not speaking for just Darren Musselwhite. I guarantee you your peers will be glad to speak. And so I'm done talking. So you got the floor, sir.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. To say that you've ever been in favor of me having this position is not true.
That has nothing to do with
Okay.
the conversation.
And
you know what? I'm a candid, open guy. You're right. I don't think you're a good alderman. I don't. But you know what? That's not my position. That's the people that vote, and I respect that. So when I came to you when you were elected, I came to you. I didn't campaign for anybody. It has nothing to do with anything. I came to you when you were elected, and I said, if you'll recall this, and I said, congratulations. I said, you and I have a different relationship now. I want to help you achieve your goals for Ward 2, and it's very important that we work together. Do you remember that conversation?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, and I didn't interrupt you, so I'm going to...
Well, but speak facts, though.
Okay. Let's just start with the most recent thing. My reason for showing up at the wreck with the fire department is because I was concerned for our employees. And whenever the officer told me that they'd already headed back to the station, I drove over there. The only conversation I had was, hey, are you guys okay? They said yes. I didn't make any kind of comment about we're paying for something for a long time and all. That's not true.
Okay, next meeting, they'll be here. They'll be here next meeting.
Well, no, I think we need, if this is one of those situations, we need to have people under oath. Because, one thing I've learned since I've been
We're being videotaped.
one thing I've learned since I've been here is that, a lot of our employees are intimidated by you. And they tell you what you want to hear. We've already had discussions about this stuff, about the nepotism and stuff like that. None of that stuff is anything that I said. I would go under oath, take a polygraph, never been said.
Whitney, was that said? Did he make a comment in your office about?
I think that was towards Debbie.
That was towards Debbie.
That was not
And it was, I told you, it was a conversation. Debbie and I have known each other for a long time. She's a cousin of my best friend. I had a conversation where we were talking over. She was asking how things were going. I said, I've had some people say something about nepotism and your husband working here. Is that an issue? And she said, no, nothing I know of. I said, well, that was the whole conversation. It wasn't anything more than that. I explained that to you then.
You didn't explain to me because you and I didn't talk about that.
Yeah,
but
we did.
But to be clear, that was brought to my attention because we had an employee that was concerned about your
Right.
comment.
But I mean, you know,
Not me, they were concerned,
Yeah.
they brought it to my attention.
well, you know, like I said, that's what was brought up. But to sit here and act like I'm doing something wrong, I don't have any ill intentions at all. I work for the voters in my ward, they put me here to ask questions. When something's happening with all the crime we have in our neighborhood over there, if they hear a bunch of sirens, they start calling me and asking me, and I send a message to I text the police chiefs, and I say, hey, look, what's going on? If they got time to answer, they'll call me back. If they don't, they won't. They'll wait till they have time. So there's no interference there. I've known both these guys for 30 years. I feel sure that if they had a problem with anything, they would, bring it to my
They have a
attention.
problem with it.
Okay,
But it's unfair to them to put them in a position.
Well, they've never said
That's why
anything to me.
state law is written that way. It's unfair to them to come to you because you're an alderman. With 3 other votes, you control their.
But if I'm not demanding them immediately response, I'm not interfering with anything. I'm saying, call me when you have a chance to tell me what's going on. And whenever they've got a search or something going on, I said, is it okay to tell them? My first question, is it okay to tell the folks in the neighborhood? Post something on Facebook about the activity, what's going on? Do people have any concerns to be worried about stuff? And as far as my news page and that kind of stuff, I've not done anything on that thing in well over a year. I mean, we post
You're not posting on social media in over a year?
No, I mean.
Are you saying you haven't posted?
No,
on
I'm
social
saying,
media?
I don't post any news stories, so the comment about, I'll need to make money or whatever.
And in all fairness, let me clarify that. I'm saying that's what it appears to be. Other than that, what other reason?
Well, you see.
You had 7 other options.
You missed the other 5 minutes of the conversation I had with her about her installing smoke detectors in the neighborhoods and stuff like that. And I said, I think that's something people would like to know. If she wanted me to help, send me some information and I would put it out there. That was what the conversation was. The whole conversation about the wreck was 2 minutes, walked in our hands. Everybody okay? Yeah, we're okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Why do you think the other alderman got calls about it then?
I have no idea. I mean, I do know that, everything seems to get skewed whenever it's reported back to you.
Why is it only you?
Well, I mean, it's not only me, I'm sure.
It is only you.
Well, I do know that you went around telling everybody if I ask a question from somebody in City Hall, they're supposed to immediately call you back. Do you do it with everybody?
No. What the courtesy is, what has worked extremely well with the city, all that I've ever asked anyone to do is to copy me on the communication, because in many situations when there's a request that's made, like if someone makes you aware of an issue in the city, it's very common that they've already made me aware. So it's very inefficient for our employees. If we already are working on a solution, it's very inefficient for the city if we don't communicate, if we're not on the same page. We may have already resolved that problem while you're spending time, starting the discussion all over. So for that reason, for efficiency, we copy each other. It's worked well. All your peers have done it. We've had no problems until you came.
Well, that's not true, Mayor, because every person on this board has told me that you bullied them into submission.
I'm not bullied anyone.
I've heard it from every one of them, Mr. Val.
Yeah,
And so, they've all had.
I've never bullied anybody, and like I said, I've been the most transparent mayor ever. There's never been a board in this city that's been filled with information like I filled this board with information. And
I appreciate your comments, and I look forward to seeing what the AG reports on it.
Okay, well, that's all.
Because
That's
I
what
have
it's
the question
about.
I want to ask too.
Okay, we'll see what they say about it, and if there's any other board members who would like to speak, I would appreciate some of the comments that have been made to me over the years, or the months, I should say. Floor is open.
Well, my big thing is the separation of powers. I don't know, Charlie, I don't know whether you mean this or not, but for example, if you are speaking on behalf of the board, I wasn't there at the secondhand conversation, but it's important to understand that we speak through our minutes. When the board speaks, it's through the official minutes of our meetings. We as individuals have no authority, no power. We only speak through our minutes. So it's important that we stick to those guidelines and only speak through our minutes. We don't muddy the waters between legislative and executive branch. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
Charlie, I'll say that I think you and I have gotten along pretty well over the course of things, but I was upset with you when I found out about you talking to former police chief and everything, and what was said to him. And and deputy chief, and we discussed it, and I thought we made it clear that you can't speak on behalf of the board for that. And I thought you had agreed and understood, but apparently it's still going on. So I don't know about some of the stuff that's been discussed, but I do know that you and I specifically talked about that in the past, about you can't go to employees and speak on behalf of the full board. And just to be quite honest, I'm good if you'll just quit doing that kind of stuff. I'm good with it. We can let bygones be bygones, and that's it. But that behavior has to stop. You, and I respect your position. You are one board member. You don't represent everyone. So if you want to speak to someone and say, I feel like, that's one thing. But when you say, we feel like, it's a totally different thing. That's all I've got.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Yes. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a handbook amendment. Mr. Chris Wilson.
Mayor Board, this is to follow up on our ethics policy, which we adopted a few meetings ago. We had a standard audit for one of our federal grants, and the question came up about conflict of interest, and we presented our ethics policy to them. Audit was fine, everything's fine, it's a safer grant, fire department grant. They suggested that we try to tighten up and strengthen up this one section of the ethics policy, specifically regarding conflict of interest in the procurement of federal grants, and that's what the language does.
What would cause it? What would cause conflict, for example?
It's that if anyone is an agent or an employee of a company trying to do business through that federal grant. It's laid out in our policy as is, but they wanted to see it directly tied to federal procurement. It's the new section 10 on that.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the handbook amendment as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Yes. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. And then the next time on the agenda, we need to pass over. We're still waiting on, we have to yield to the county. We're still waiting on some information from them before we can take action here. Next on the agenda is a resolution to clean private property.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the resolution granting authority to clean private property as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion among the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that has a financial interest in any of the properties that would like to speak? Hearing or seeing none, roll call please.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Yes. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is our planning agenda. Ms. Whitney Cook.
Yes, sir. Our first application is by Laney Thunderbird for subdivision approval. We need to revise Bell Point subdivision section B. This is going to be on the north side of Church Road, east of Meadow Point Drive. It's just involving one lot, which you'll see highlighted right there. It's a triangular lot. We are proposing to take out the bottom portion of that. It's not buildable. It fits better into section E and actually squares off that portion of the future lot. So to do that, we have to remove it from this lot, which will vacate that section of lot 283 and place it into future lot 1 of section E. It's just basically to clean it up. So Planning Commission did vote unanimously in favor of it.
May I make a motion to approve item number 1 on the planning agenda?
Second.
Okay, on item 1, we have a motion by Alderman Wheeler, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Item number 2 is a request for minor subdivision application. It's 2 lots, it's going to be on the south side of College Road, east of Old Airways. The overall site is 5 acres. They're requesting to break it down into 2 lots, one with 1.82 acres, the other with 3.18 acres. There's a house, as you can see, on one, and there is an easement for an existing drive down the east side. It does comply with our subdivision regulations regarding minor lots and that it's less than 3 lots. It is in an agricultural zone. That being said, there's no standard road improvements to be done and they're not required, and Planning Commission voted unanimously in favor of it.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve item 2 on the planning agenda as presented.
Second.
On item 2, we have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Item number 3 is a request for subdivision application for both lots 18 and 20 of the Silo Square Commercial Subdivision Phase 1. This is going to be down the south side of May Boulevard, or future May Boulevard. It is going to be 2 lots adjacent to the building that's under construction right now. All the standard design is on it. They're both 0.944 acres. The standard 10-foot utility easements are being shown on all 4 sides. They are identifying the 15-foot front yard setback, which is not standard for subdivision applications, but they're identifying that because it's an urban design setting. It's not standard with PUD text. The only thing that we have requested, and we've got this in the hands of the fire department right now, is these 2 lots are now pushing back from a roadway where we can get fire accessibility to it. So they're working with the fire department to gain access to those lots. But with that was the only comment we had. They're working administratively with the fire department, so it was recommended for approval and voted unanimously with that comment.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend that we approve item number 3 on the planning agenda as presented tonight.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Item number 4 is the Item number 4 is the design review application for the building that is actually going on lot 18. You'll see it has all the standard materials that are already in play with the ones that have been approved that are under construction right now. The only difference between these buildings and the ones that are in construction are those are 3-story buildings. These are 2-story buildings that you see here. The landscape template that's being carried over from lots 16 and 17 will carry on to these lots. All the materials will stay the same, and the lighting, the photometrics will stay the same as well. There were no comments actually from the design review at the Planning Commission, and it was voted unanimously in favor of.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend we approve item number 4 on the planning agenda as presented tonight.
Second.
Okay, on item 4, we have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Item number 5 is very similar to that. It's the design review approval for lot 20. Same materials. It is a 2-story building. You can see from the parapet line at the roof, there is some variation to the roof line. Otherwise, it's very similar to what we've already approved. Brick above the bottom floor. There's some colored ephes on the bottom. They've got 2 types of canopies. The landscape will remain the same as what's been already carried on. Photometrics the same as well. No comment from the Planning Commission. It was voted unanimously in favor of.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend we approve item number 5 on the planning agenda as presented tonight.
Second.
On item 5, we have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Okay, item number 6 is the design review for the new Planters Bank. This is going to be on lots 2 and 3 of Silo Square, where Slim Chickens is lot 1. If you'll remember, sometime back, we merged lots 2 and 3 because Planters Bank decided to place their headquarters here. So this is going to be on the hard corner, the northwest corner of May Boulevard and Getwell Road. It is a 2-story building. It's solid brick. It has a huge garden atrium on the outside, around the back for the workers there. It is encompassing a sidewalk around the entire thing. It has a covered walk space to get into the main entry point. You'll probably have to scoot up just a little bit more. There's a 3D version of it for you to see. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, the 3D version will come up. It's a beautiful building. It has the brick color, has got an aged look to it, so it kind of follows suit with the Main Street appeal that we're working on with the rest of it. There were no comments regarding the actual elevations and the lighting. We're working through it to have the matching decorative acorn lighting with them. That was not submitted with them. They've agreed to that. Their landscaping was a touch incomplete. We were waiting on some streetscape designs, so the Planning Commission did vote to allow us to look at that administratively and go on and approve it with all other comments.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend that we approve item number 6 on the planning agenda as presented tonight.
On item 6, we have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Whitney, when do you expect we'll start seeing some construction on this?
This one, I talked to the president of the bank, and he was extremely agitated about starting quickly. His hope is to get slab, at least the concrete slab poured in November. So I think we can make that work. We've already kind of expedited him where he could kind of start his building plan since we need to run a whole lot of comments. They've already got their land disturbance permit approved through us. So we expect to see this one on the ground at least with concrete in November. As for the other 2, I'm not sure. I know Brian is in the audience, so that may be a question you can better answer him, but I don't know the question on 18 and 20.
I wanted to get started immediately. We hope that we'll have concrete on the ground by in November as well.
Okay.
On buildings 18 and 20.
Well, in speaking from prior experience, I know the president of this bank pretty well, and he'll work this thing up quickly.
Yes, he's very proactive. Yes, with this development. So I really wish you could see the 3D pictures, but Cameron's letting us down over there. So it's a beautiful building. It really is.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Okay, the next application is also for Silo Square. This is for phase 1 of the single-family residential. We approved a section of approximately, I think, 34 lots on the Tullahoma side. No?
I'm still frozen.
Oh, I'm
Your time reference right
One day we'll see the elevations after I sit down. We've already approved some of the conservation homes on the Tullahoma side. This particular section will be right behind the commercial development. It's identified as Phase 1A, and it is 17.99 acres. It has 49 lots and 3 common open spaces. These are going to be your rear access garages, kind of like the examples of Windstone, except he plans on using more of a cottage-like design, but these will be your rear-loaded garages. We spoke about the private drives in the back because we don't normally take on alleyways, so the alleyways will be the responsibility of the homeowners association. Roads will be ours. It does comply with the master plan and the text that has already been approved back in 2018. We did ask that they rename it because it got a little confusing on Phase 1A with commercial and then Phase 1A of single-family residential, so we're going to clean that up. And also, he has agreed with the United States Postal Service. This is one of the first ones where they are asking that we no longer have mailboxes. So in the common open space on this site, and I would show you, but Cameron still won't let my pictures come up. There is a location where there will be a community mailbox where people will be able to stop and get their mail. So there will be no mailboxes, to make the United States Postal Service happy. Brian's agreed to it. So that was, the one change that we had on there. Some of the planning commissioners did bring up the issue of, rentals and how could we prevent that. Just before this meeting, he did respond to me and tell me that in his, covenants that he has got where if you do own a house over there, you may only own one house that can be for rent, so you don't have a lot of the rental agencies coming in by a lump sum. So that would appease my planning commissioner's concern. I will let him know that as well, but that was the only thing brought up besides the community mailbox. With that being said, they voted unanimously in favor of it.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve item number 7 on the planning agenda presented tonight.
Second.
On item 7, we have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion?
That's a good idea. That's one we haven't really thought of, is just saying if you own a house, you mean there can only be one rental in your name or your company, so that does prevent it.
There can only be one rental in your name?
Yeah, how did you word it, Brian?
No, I'm saying, what you said, I mean, if we could do that, we would change the ordinance along. You can't do that.
Well, it's not the order, this
I
is
know,
just
I'm
covenants.
saying you can't.
Neighborhood covenants.
Yeah, it's the neighborhood covenants, it's not us.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think what he's
You
saying
think Alderman Kelly was getting a
we
little
wish
excited
that
about it?
we had the same ability, yeah.
Gotcha, I gotcha.
That is a great idea, though.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly. Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Rivers.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
The next application is also a subdivision approval to split 7.84 acres of property. It's going to be on the east side of Sweeney Road, just north of Star Landing, proposing it into 2 lots. It was originally brought in as lot 15A and 15B of the Jones-Richardson estate, which would take it into a major subdivision application. We went back, spoke to the Chancery Clerk's office, and the only thing we could identify that subdivision in was under the warranty deed. It had never been applied as subdivision. So with their blessing, we asked that it just be basically a vacant parcel. And so this is actually just going to be a minor subdivision of 2 lots. Lot 1 with 3.15 acres and lot 2 with 4.69 acres. Both have access to Sweeney, family-owned property, and it was voted unanimously in favor of. We're going to have the name changed on the title block before it's recorded as well.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item number 8 as presented on the planning agenda.
Second.
On item 8, we have a motion by Alderman Gallagher. We have a second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Rivers. Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Next application is a request to revise an existing subdivision known as the Neal Minor Lot subdivision. This is going to be on the north side of DeSoto Road, west of Horn Lake Road. Currently has 4 lots. It was in our annexation area, and those lots ranged in size from 1.5 acres to 4.37 acres. The applicant is requesting to merge lots 1 and 2 and make it one large lot, which would basically bring the lots as having 2.65 acres and 3.48 acres, so it would create a single lot of 6.13 acres. We don't have any problem with that. That would actually bring it into compliance into our ordinance with minor lot subdivisions versus what it was done with in the county. We did ask them, of course, again, to rename it. They've identified it as Lot 1A, which leads people to think there's Lot 1B, and there's not. So we're going to address that on the title block and clear that up, but otherwise than that, we voted unanimously in favor.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve item number 9, the planning agenda as presented.
We got item 9, we have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Rivers.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
And I do have one more
That
that,
motion carries.
thank you. I do have one more that's actually not on the agenda. I spoke to the mayor and it was an emergency services issue, so we were going to put it on here. You will see the aerials, I got that in time. That house located right there, there's a stub out right beside it, and it's identified as Windy Ridge Road. You can't really zoom in a whole lot, but you can see it's actually been coved out at the top. And it's the only one addressed to this actual road. We found some confusion in this because if you look to the south of it over to the right, it's an offset intersection with the same road name down there. We looked further into the warranty deeds, and these lots all in this area go anywhere from Windy Ridge Drive to Windy Ridge Road to Windy Ridge Cove. So I spoke with Chris Shelton, who's in charge of dispatch, and we talked it over, and it definitely seems problematic. So since it's only going to bother this one lady, she's aware of it. We've been talking to her about getting her signage up there. It has been asked that we do a scrivener's error on the plat of Timberlake subdivision to change the official name to Windy Ridge Cove for this portion to the north, and that way Windy Ridge Road will only be on that south side, and that emergency dispatch can get there appropriately. This is 10, it just went on there.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Wheeler, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion?
Is there actually a road there?
It's a what?
Is there really a road there?
There is. It's right beside, on the right side of where that red highlighted area is, you'll see the center line identified up, and there's actually a cove built out there at the very end, just past where their driveway is.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Rhodes.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoops.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is mayor's report. First of all, just a few updates. There will be on November 6th and 7th, there will be a temporary lane closure on State Line Road at the Horn Lake Creek Bridge. The purpose of that is in preparation for the replacement of that bridge that will happen later. So for those 2 days, there will be a one lane that's closed. Our utilities department is doing a test on our sewer lines where they will actually use a type of smoke that detects leaks in the sewer line. The purpose of that is to preserve the integrity of the line, to make sure that there's not leaks from stormwater that are getting into the sewer system. When that happens, that increases the cost of your sewer cost because you're charged by your volume of all water there. So that test is going on now. So that could result in occasionally there being smoke that actually comes into homes. We posted that on social media to get the word out. Just want to use this platform to get the word out as well. It's nothing to be alarmed about, but that's what the smoke is for. State Line Road, y'all know, this board knows, we've discussed this. The contractor completed the milling and patching for this project about 4 weeks ago. It's been very frustrating for the city. They left to go to other jobs. They are finally back after 4 weeks. They started yesterday paving State Line Road, and depending on obviously it's November, the weather is sketchy, but with good weather, it's about a 4-day job to finish the job. Unfortunately, rain and cold weather's in the forecast for late this week, so it's my understanding the plan is they will complete the paving from Tullahoma to Airways this week, and then they will have to wait on better weather to get this section from Airways back to Interstate 55. So at least they are back working again, so just wanted to give that update. C-Spire, many citizens in our city have expressed to me their dissatisfaction with the installation of internet, or not internet lines, but lines that will be used for better communication for a 5G capability. Obviously, when that is done, it will be a great benefit to our citizens. But we've had problems with the installation. We brought that to the attention of C-Spire. They've had meetings with their contractors. I did issue a stop work order until we got that corrected because so many of our citizens' yards were being destroyed. There were other issues about the boxes being too close to fire hydrants, light poles, things of that nature. It's a pretty serious deal. I'm confident that C-Spire is going to work together with the city to resolve the problem. Until then, the plan is to slow it down. We want to make sure that they come into our city and that they preserve the yards of our citizens. So what we have decided to do is we have a punch list of damaged yards. We're going to require that they repair those. We're going to have a team with the city, including me, that will go and actually do a walkthrough to ensure that it meets our standard. At the same time, they're going to finish the Chateau Point subdivision, and they're not going to start on any others until we have the opportunity to have that walkthrough at Chateau Point to make sure that these problems of the past have been corrected. So for the many of you that have expressed your concern to me, I just want to assure you that we are on it. We have talked to C Spire. We understand your concern, and we have a plan to correct that. Our capital improvement plan that we've talked about, that's not on the agenda tonight. All of us know that the board approved an intent to do a bond issuance. That will be contingent upon us having a capital improvement plan to clearly indicate where that money is going. This time we're waiting on 2 large projects to give us a pre-bid estimate so we can complete that capital improvement plan. Those 2 big items, the number 1 item is Fire Station number 5 that the city has been talking about for many, many years. That location is at the curve in Star Landing Road just west of Getwell. That's where the station is going to be built in 2020. But at this time, our fire officials are doing their research to develop a pre-bid estimate. As soon as we have that estimate, and also the board has discussed turf, considering adding turf at Snowden Grove Park and Greenbrook Park. Again, we need good pre-bid estimates on that. Those are the 2 biggest items on that capital improvement plan. So as soon as we have that data, I will be back in front of the board with a proposed capital improvement plan. Just a few other updates. Soccer at Snowden Grove. The board did approve award of bid to start the soccer project. In addition to that, we had to go back and have the building that will house concessions and bathrooms. We had to have that designed. The board authorized that. That building has been designed. It's really an efficient layout. It's going to be a great look. It is going to be on the northern end, facing back just north of the bowling alley. It'll be facing back towards a new road that'll be added off of Snowden Lane. But that project will include that building, so that building will be bid probably in February. But construction will start on the actual soccer fields within the next few weeks, with projected completion in the fall of 2020. So the first soccer, we expect that soccer will be played at Snowden Grove Park in the spring of 2021. And let me scan my list. I believe that is it. Just in general, I will tell you that it was an exciting day today in the City of Southaven. All the projects that this board has contemplated, and all the projects that we've talked about, so many of them are underway now. You know, today was a day I had to go inspect a couple things through the city, so I traveled on all sides of the city today, and it was just very, very exciting to me to see all the construction going on. We have so many projects underway that's going to make our city a better city. So, very exciting day in the city, and hopefully the weather will stay decent so we can complete some of these projects. That's all I have this evening.
Veterans Lunch Friday. Veterans Luncheon on Friday.
Sure. We updated everyone last time, but just again as a reminder, this Friday we'll have a Veterans Luncheon at the Community Safe Room, which is next door to the arena. I'll go ahead and tell you that is my number 1 favorite event that we do in the city. It's an outstanding day to honor our veterans. It's very special. It's a very popular event. Many people who have served our country in such a brave way, including Alderman Brooks, that's next to me, will be at that event. And Alderman Brooks actually is going to be the guest speaker this year. So I would encourage everyone, if you can, to make it a point to come to the Veterans Day luncheon. It's this Friday. And I believe that's it. We'll move on. Next on our agenda is our citizens agenda. We had one person that registered. It was Miss Linton from the House of Grace. I understand that she's not going to be here, but that Melissa DeVar, am I pronouncing your name right?
It's DeVar.
DeVar, okay. Melissa DeVar is here to speak, so we welcome you.
I'm here to formally tell you how much I appreciate your $9,000 donation to House of Grace, and I am here for them. Miss Katie's sick, so I'd appreciate your prayers for her, and I appreciate your just continued support for House of Grace. It's definitely a great thing about Southaven. I actually came here as a VA nurse and a victim of domestic violence, or came here running from domestic violence. I actually met Mark Little, so domestic violence victim survivors frequently interact with police and lots of expenditures for that. So came here as a mom with 3 daughters. I'm now a resident of Southaven, a business owner and a local attorney. I studied for the bar at House of Grace. It's a very great ministry. I personally appreciate what you do for House of Grace and our support through this city. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak?
Scott Harvey, I spoke last month on the uptick in crime.
Yes, sir.
I haven't got to meet with Chief Moore yet, but I wanted to thank him and Southaven PD for all the hard work they've been putting into this situation. We appreciate that. Also, code enforcement. If there's anyone here from code enforcement, thank you very much for a situation you took care of in the Stone Creek community. We appreciate that. The good thing that came out of this whole situation is my situational awareness and my involvement in our community. And I look to keep building that and interacting with our other neighbors and building our community awareness. So I'll be meeting with Chief Moore to work on that and build up from his point of view what we can do as citizens and help out the police and build our community up. So I appreciate all the hard work from everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for getting involved and helping us in the community. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hi, my name is Marie Fuller Hoots, and this kind of refers back to item 17 on the agenda. And I'm speaking because I feel like you have painted a very unfair and self-serving portrait of Alderman Hoots. And obviously, I'm his wife, but I just want to go on record saying that you have very, very much misrepresented him. Alderman Hoots is 100% dedicated to his ward and to the people of his ward. He's 100% dedicated to this city. He does nothing for personal gain. Everything that he does is for the betterment of his area and for the people that he represents. He is here doing what they sent him to do. And yes, sometimes that makes him a thorn in your side, because he does ask questions, because he does challenge the status quo. He doesn't go along with just everything that comes across. And he does that because that's what his voters sent him here to do. As far as him sitting around listening to some radio or whatever, he knows what's going on because his voters call him. They text him all hours of the night, all hours of the day, and not just his, but people from other parts of the city who don't feel like they can call their own alderman as well. So I don't appreciate you making it sound like, he's up there and he's like selling information and stuff like that. That's ridiculous. It's not happening. I can tell you personally, I can tell you firsthand, he's not benefiting financially from anything going on in this job. So I just feel like it's unfair the way that this was brought up here. I feel like you just kind of like publicly put all this information out there, and like I said, misrepresented him. And I just want to go on record saying that the information is incorrect, and that he's an outstanding alderman. And any ward would be very fortunate to have an alderman like him, working for them, and representing him. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate your comments, and just for the record, I didn't put that. That was this agenda item tonight was brought about by his peers. I did not put that on the agenda. That was brought about. No, that's okay. We got to move on.
Because I'm going to tell you, these same peers are saying other things in conversations to him. So
We're done. We're going
Okay.
to control the citizens' agenda. All I'm telling you is that this item that was on the agenda was not brought by me. It was brought by one of his peers. He's not a thorn in my side.
one of his peers.
All that I'm trying to do is do my job as mayor of the city.
Mm-hmm.
I have concern. I have to see the big picture for this city, and I have to bring concerns that other aldermen bring to my attention. But for the record, he's not a thorn in my side. I'm just trying to do my job as well, okay? So anyway, you've gotten a chance to speak, so your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak? And I do admire you. I'm waiting for my wife's chance to speak. I'm sure she would have plenty of things she'd like to talk about as well. So, but I do admire your support of your husband. So if there's no one else that wants to speak, we'll move on. Past the citizens agenda, the next item on the agenda is the personnel docket.
Mr. Mayor, move that we approve the personnel documents presented on this date.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is City Attorney's legal update. Mr. Nick Manley.
One quick item I got off this afternoon. Previously, the city purchased 16 Dodge Chargers on state contract. Tomorrow, we need approval to go to bid for reverse auction through central bidding for the vehicle equipment. It's not for the actual vehicle, it's just for the vehicle equipment.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is the utility bill adjustment docket.
Mr. Mayor, move that we approve the utility bill adjustment document in the amount of $5,533.52 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion?
Hey, is Ray here?
Yes.
Ray, can you come forward?
Help me understand 2930 Goodman Road.
I don't have it in front of me.
Here you go.
Toilet leak, $1,448.34.
I mean, how long is that thing out
That's what they got. I don't know. It could have been multiple ones leaving up because of the business.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. I saw that and I was like, hello? I didn't mean to put you on the spot, right?
Congratulations.
So is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Yes. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda are two claims dockets. Is there a motion to approve docket one?
Mr. Mayor, we approve docket number one, the amount of $4,096,677.07 to include demand checks.
Second.
On docket one, we have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Is there a motion to approve docket two?
Mr. Mayor, move we approve document number two in the amount of $337,476.51.
Second.
On docket two, we have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is to the purpose of determining the need for executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Brooks. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it. Motion carries. The need this evening, claims and litigation against the Southaven Police Department, Utility Department, and Public Works. Potential land acquisition for an easement, Southaven Police Department personnel, and economic development within the city. Is there a motion to declare executive session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter executive session.